just going to talk briefly about fiscal drag. As yesterday's budget, we saw a freeze in the basic rate limit of income tax, which essentially means the most amount of money you can earn before you hit the 40% bracket. We've looked at some historical data from the last decade, and we've seen the basic rate limit is the blue line here, and it's been adjusted in successive budgets. But the green line, we've used the average earnings index to show what the basic rate limit should have been over the past decade. And we can see the gap between the two lines shows that in successive budgets, either Gordon Brown or Alistair Darling, they've both been essentially overtaxing workers and taxpayers over the last decade. Now, if we have a look at 2009-10 in particular, we can see that the basic rate limit is £37,400, and with adjusted for average earnings, it actually should have been £40,300, which is a massive difference. Now, looking at the Treasury's Ready Reckoner, which is a sort of what-if tool which shows us what happens to the tax system with given changes to the inputs, we can see that the basic rate limit should we saw 160 million change in the tax revenue for the Treasury if the basic rate limit was adjusted by 1%. And the difference between these two lines here is 7.75%. So 160 million times 7.75% shows us that 1.2 billion extra in 2009-10 alone was taken by the government in income tax revenue. And for an individual worker, that's who falls in between, whose earnings fall in between these two lines, just in 2009-10, that's up to £580 a year, just on their own extra income tax bill. So fiscal drag has cost the taxpayer £1.2 billion in 2009-10 alone. And again, we've only used the year 2000 as a base here. We've not exactly gone back all the way to William Pitt, so what we can see is that over the last 10 years, taxpayers have been hitting the pocket for more than 1.2 billion just in that year, but and the level's been frozen again yesterday, so what we can take from that is that we've got another stealth tax hike essentially from delivered in yesterday's budget. So yeah, thank you.